It's no longer about creating good products, speaking the truth, being interesting, or even working your way up through the free markets. It's about what you're allowed to say by this environment that is unelected, and it is not obeying its own rules. So the big question that we debated on the panel there after we'd done our individual shows at the Science and Freedom Forum was what to do about censorship. I mean, it's a really big question. It's one facing Australia right now, and it's being asked in an environment where there are different forces who want different things. We've got the mainstream media, which is happy to keep things how they are, or even to lean on politicians to tighten up the censorial screws on the rest of us because they don't want us as a free market competitor. We've got the politicians that are happy to, let it be because they love having control over the press. If they could write their own headlines, they would. And there's this disturbingly close relationship we have between Australia's MSM and the political class who trade favours. I mean, it's the seat on the press bus when there's the next election in exchange for comfy little interviews where you learn absolutely nothing about the next political regime. And that really tests the definition of the free press. But the common people, Daniel, Victor, they are pushing back against censorship. Sometimes it feels as if we're in this collapsing bubble where we're running out of space. Now, I don't know if you remember, but one person said that we can just keep going to a different platform, from YouTube to Rumble, from Facebook to Twitter, from Twitter to Gab, from Gab to Parler. Victor, do things need to change? Can we keep running as the independent press?
I think it's going to become increasingly harder. And I think the thing that is really different about the censorship now compared to the censorship in the past is that they seem to have almost all journalists and reporters on board. In fact, in some regards, journalists and reporters for the Washington Post, the New York Times, the ABC seem to be the biggest cheerleaders for cancelling people. Either they're cancelling people either because they simply don't agree with what they have to say, or because they recognise that, like yourselves, they are genuine competitors for their audience. And I think the fact that there are so many journalists at the top tier within the corporate media are so on board with this censorship regime is what is so different from in the past. Journalists traditionally have held the powerful to account, and I feel like this is something that has certainly changed in recent times. The other thing that I would say is, and it's going to be a hard battle because you not only got things like the Trusted News Initiative, which is it's an agreement that exists between the BBC, Washington Post, New York Times, ABC, SBS, as well as governments, as well as all the social media networks. So you basically, during COVID, they would come across content that they disagreed with, or a content creator or a network or a podcaster. They would then contact their mates through the Trusted News Initiative, who would then act on that, and then they would contact the social media networks to take those people down. So this is a huge circle and a huge amount of power for small people like particularly myself. I don't stand a chance of fighting against that. I love what you guys have done that. I think, what you guys have done there. I think that is going to be a little bit harder for them to take down, but there's no hiding the fact that right now there is a battle going on between independent creators and the corporate media. And I come back to the fact that I think that the large part of this battle is because they just don't know how to do it. They just don't know how to engage. And this is so obvious when you look at networks like CNN, who spent $300 million US to launch CNN Plus, their streaming news service, and it lasted 9 months. It just completely collapsed. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to control the narrative, they're trying to control the message, and they're now trying to control online. And one of the ways that they're doing that is by destroying independent media. I actually think, I have a bit of a conspiracy theory, I think that they are moving in on YouTube. I think that is the ultimate goal for those networks, because if you see what YouTube and Google are doing, they're just cleaning out the cupboard of everyone that disagrees, everyone that's independent, and they're bringing in all of the established actors. And for the first time in the last 12 months, 3 of the biggest earners on YouTube were establishment figures: Jimmy Kimmel and people like Rachel Maddow, these sort of individuals. So it's happening. They're taking it over. Yeah.
And Twitter's doing something very interesting where they're taking establishment figures who were kicked out by mainstream media, like the Tucker Carlsons of the world, and there will be lots more of them, don't you worry about that, and making them into a new, almost MSM-style media on Twitter, although we're not really sure how that's going to play out yet. That's a pending project, I think, about what Twitter's up to. They've got a few interesting characters in the works there, but I don't know, I'm not sold on it. We'll see how that goes. It's not as clear what Twitter's doing as what things like YouTube are up to.